is Lucia and today I'm going to teach you a recipe that comes from Sicily. It's called arancini. Arancini, literally translated, means small oranges. And the reason why it has that name is because when we get done with making our arancini, they're like little rice balls, but they look like little oranges. So the recipe that I'm going to use today comes to us directly from Sicily. One of Delia's students by the name of John McGinn actually brought it back from Sicily from a restaurant there. So we're happy to have this, and we actually taught this last August at the Italian American Heritage Foundation. So let's get started on what our ingredients are. We've got a good California organic olive oil, extra virgin, and I have about a half a cup of shallots and about a quarter cup of parsley. This has all been chopped up in advance. And today I'm going to make 1 cup of rice because this is going to be for me and my husband. So you may want to use more when you have a bigger group of people to cook for. And then I've got 2 cups of chicken broth and a little bit of ground pepper. And I also have some saffron. And I've got about 3 or 4 strands of saffron. Now, you know saffron's kind of expensive, so if you don't want to use it, you can leave it out. But it does give it a good flavor. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put the olive oil in my pot. Okay, I'm putting in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm going to heat that up. And I've got my heat probably around halfway. So it's about medium heat. And now I'm going to add my half a cup of shallots. That's a little too hot right now, so I'm turning the heat down. And now I'm going to stir the shallots, and you want to cook them until they're kind of soft. So I'd say about 3 to 4 minutes. And I'll set my timer. I'm going to set it for 3 minutes so I don't overcook them. You don't want your onions or your shallots to overcook or get brown. You just want them nice and soft. So I just keep stirring because, like I say, I don't want to brown them. And if you let them sit, they'll brown. So I've got my heat lower now. It's probably a little bit more than low heat on my stove. It's at a level 2. And of course I'm using a gas stove, which I really love. So I'm stirring, and it looks like my timer is about to go off. So I'm just going to keep stirring. And then I'm going to put in a little bit, put my rice in there and just cook it for just a little while. And my timer's just going off now. There we go. I'm going to put my rice in here and let that cook. And I'm just going to keep on stirring my rice and my onions just till I know that my rice has gotten not browned, but just a little bit less than brown. Okay, now I'm going to add my broth to the mix. and I have 2 cups of broth. You can also use water if you want. It comes out better with the broth though. But if you don't have broth, that's okay. Just use water, and then you'll salt it. I'm not salting it because the broth already has plenty of salt in it. And so now I'm also going to add my saffron and stir that up. I'm going to let this come to a boil, and then I'm going to turn the heat down. But for right now, I'm just going to keep stirring it or just letting it cook until, and I'm going to turn my heat up so that I can get this going into a boil.
Okay, we're rolling.
And another thing I'm going to add is some pepper. Now I just kind of eyeball it. You can take a look at how much I'm putting in there right there for a cup of rice to 2 cups of broth. So I'm going to put it in there and I'm going to stir it up. And I am going to cover this up and bring it to a boil. Now once it comes to a boil, I will turn the heat down to low, and as soon as all the broth is absorbed by the rice, then I'll turn it off and then I'll let it cool. Now just a few points about risotto or rice. I'm not doing a typical risotto recipe because this recipe doesn't call for it. Normally, when you make risotto, you're going to add your broth and keep cooking it and stirring it till all the broth is absorbed. And you're going to keep doing that over and over and over. But for our purposes, for this risotto that we're going to do for our arancini, it's a little bit different. So we don't have to be as picky about the rice. But I'll tell you, this rice really does come out very good. Okay, now our rice is boiling, so you can see that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my heat down on my stove, probably to low or simmer, just down to a simmer, and I'm going to cover my rice and then let all the liquid become absorbed in the rice. Okay, it looks like our rice is ready now. If you want to take a look at what it looks like when it's done. And by the way, I'm using arborio rice, and this is the brand that I use. This is what I found, and I find that I usually have really good results with this brand. It's Lundberg white arborio rice. So now that our rice is cooked, I'm going to put the rice in a pan, and then it's going to go in the refrigerator. I'm going to let it cool at room temperature first, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator to really chill down. And then we're going to make our arancini so that it looks really like little meatballs or little oranges. So there we go. Very good. And so we'll take a little pause now while we let that cool. Now while my rice is cooling, I'm actually mixing in the parsley, and I'd say this is about a tablespoon of parsley to the 1 cup of rice. So while I'm doing that, I'm just mixing it up and fluffing the rice up. And this will also help it to cool. Now the next thing I'm going to do is put it in my refrigerator. I'm going to cover it up with some aluminum foil, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. So here's my aluminum foil, just covering it up. And now I'll put it in the refrigerator to cool for about an hour or so. Welcome back, everybody. I'd like you to see the rice that I took out of the refrigerator, and I wanted to explain why you need to cool it before you actually proceed with this process here. And the reason being that it's easier to handle if you cool the rice a little bit. You can actually do this overnight if you'd like. You can make the risotto the day before, do this whole process up to where I showed you, and put it in the refrigerator. And then the next day you can do the second part, which is what I'm going to show you now. Now, this is what we have on the table, and it's kind of a production line. So that's why I have it laid out this way. I'm going to be adding about 1/3 of a cup of pecorino romano, and also I have some Parmesan cheese here. And here's my rice, and then I've got ham. Now, ideally you want to use prosciutto, but I couldn't find prosciutto. And also, you're normally going to use mozzarella cheese, but unfortunately I couldn't find mozzarella either. So I've got a different white cheese that I'm using. And then we have peas here, and it's about 1/4 cup of the peas. And this is something I want to talk to you about too. As you see what I'm whisking here, this is semolina flour, and it's about 1 cup of water to about 1/2 cup of the semolina flour. And then I've got breadcrumbs laid out in a pan, and we're going to end up rolling the arancini in this particular item, which is the breadcrumbs, and then we're going to deep fry them in this deep fryer. Now, you don't have to use a deep fryer if you don't want to. You can also fry them on your stovetop as well. I think it's easier if you actually use the deep fryer. So let's begin. So now I'm going to mix my cheeses into the rice. And don't think I'm a complete slob here, but we have to mix it with our hands. So I'm going to mix the rice with the cheeses. Okay? All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is start to form my my arancini balls. So I'm going to take about this much here, I don't know, a little, just grab a little bit here and make them into balls. Okay? Now, I'm going to put a divot right here, or a hole, and I'm going to add my other ingredients. Here's my ham. Here's some cheese. And I'm going to put a couple of peas in here as well. And I'm going to take a little more rice and put it on the top. And really tighten up my rice balls. And you really want to push these down, because if you don't, it won't be a tight ball and it won't work very well, because you don't want it to fall apart. So here I am working it into a ball. How am I doing so far? Looks good, doesn't it? Great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my water mixture here with the semolina flour. So I'm just going to whisk it around like so. And then I'm going to put my arancini ball in there. And next I'm going to roll it in my breadcrumbs, just like so. Next, I'm going to fry it in my deep fryer. Be careful, the heat of the oil is very hot. So I'm just going to drop it down into my fryer like that, and it can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 7 minutes. And I've got my deep fryer to about 375 degrees. So that's what it looks like while it's cooking. I'm going to lay the cover down while it's cooking. And then in about 5 minutes, I'm going to check it and see how it looks. I'm assembling another arancini ball, and I'm going to put my peas. I've already put my ham, my cheese, and now I'm going to add a little more rice to the top, just like so. And now squeeze very tightly. Like I say, you got to squeeze it real tightly, otherwise they'll fall apart. You don't want that to happen. So let me just really squeeze it down. I'm going to add just a little bit more rice so I cover up the peas, just like so. Okay. Add just a little bit more so I can cover this cheese right here. And you know, they're about the size of a meatball. You know, if you can kind of figure out, you know, meatball size arancini, that's what's going to work the best. Just really work it. Work your rice around the peas and all the other ingredients. See how nice that looks? That's what a good arancini looks like before it's cooked. And I'm going to roll it in the slurry water here. Mix this up a little bit here. There we go. And then I'm going to roll it in my breadcrumbs. See, it looks like a little meatball, doesn't it? Okay, next I'm going to put that in the hot oil. Let's see how this is doing in here. I'm going to open it up. Oh my, that looks perfect. That's nice and golden brown, and that's what you want in a completed arancini. So now, what I did is I put a pan with a paper towel on top of it so you can drain some of the oil and just load that right onto my paper towel. Now I'm going to take another arancini, and be careful, like I said, this oil is hot. So I'm going to drop it back down, just like that. Close my lid, and we'll probably cook that. I think that was about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit less, but that's why you have to check to make sure it's that nice golden brown like I showed you right here. You want to have that nice golden brown look. Now our arancini are done. If you'll see, this is what they look like. This is the finished product. And this made about 10 arancini, and you can make them for a big group of people or a smaller group, whichever you prefer. Also, I like to serve it with a salad and fruit for dessert. So I hope you enjoyed our arancini cooking demonstration today. And if you have any questions, we'll be putting my email address at the bottom of this video. So if you have any questions, just write to me and let me know what it is that you need to know. Meanwhile, I want to thank my husband for doing this video, and thank you for watching.